Hey, it's time for another video. In this video, we're going to activate the form at the bottom of our page called Create a New Hero. And so the goal here is we're going to take all of the controls and put the data that we get from them into the database. So let's first of all take a look at our form that we've got at the near the top of the page called Add Hero Form. And so each of these controls has values, and at the very end there is a button called Create New Hero Button, and that's the ID. So at the bottom of my code here, down in the listeners, let's see here, button listener section, I have a function that I've set up already called Create New Hero Button Click. And so here is what we're going to do. The first goal is to get the values from every control on the input and put them into variables. And then the second is we're going to write this data to the database. So very similar to what we did with creating users in the previous video. It's so similar, in fact, that I'm going to copy this Firebase command and use it for the command that I'm writing now. Instead of users, we're going to find a different place and different data. So we'll delete this for now. And we're also going to delete the email, but we will use this function. Okay, first part though. Get the values from every control on the input form and put them into variables. So this is going to be a little bit long and tedious, but we are going to have to go find the ID for every item on here. For instance, hero name. I'll just start with that one. So we're going to copy the ID and we're going to put that into a variable. I'm going to first of all create an object, and it's going to be called a hero, and it is going to be built one item at a time. So name is going to become the value that we get from the input hero name, and so then after this we put dot value. And then the next item in our list is we're going to have several other things. We're going to have a race, and we'll get that. And what do we have? Profession. I think that's coming up. And then also we have strength, speed, and stamina. And finally, deity. So each one of these is going to be given a value from the controls. So we're just going to kind of repeat the process that we did for name. So the second item on my list is the hero race. So that's the ID. Let's copy that. So a little bit different. Instead of just getting the value from hero race, we're going to have to get the value of the selected items. So in CSS selectors, we have to put in a colon, and that gets a property of the value of the selected item. Let's do the same thing for the profession. Okay, let's review what we just did here. So I have the object called hero, and inside of him are all these properties, and each property corresponds to a control on the input form. The isDeity, I believe, needs to be changed. Instead of value, the type of property we want is not the value, but it's actually what's called a property. So it's a prop, and we are going to find out if it is checked or not. So it's kind of like value, but it's a little bit off. Okay, so double check your typing, make sure everything matches up there. Then the second part of our job is to write this data to the database. So I'm going to make one modification here. This code here I'm going to make into a separate function. So I'm going to cut that out. So this function is going to be called Add Hero to Database. And I'm going to take a hero, or an H for input, and then I'm going to write it there. Okay, so I'd like to add one more property, maybe two up on the hero. Let's give each hero a unique ID, and so that way if we have two heroes named John, we make sure that we have a distinction between them. Let's create the ID to be the input hero name. So let's use this part right here, and then we'll add on a unique number at the end. So we could say that is going to be the time. How about let's just use the date function, and now is a good time. So that's like a number of seconds since probably 2000 or something like that. So that will make sure that each hero has a name plus a unique number after it. Also, let's give the hero an owner, and that would tell us the current user is the current creator of this ID. So I think that was UID is what we need. There it is, UID. Okay, so now let's finish off with the add hero to database function. So we are going to receive a variable called h that corresponds to the hero object up here. So h dot something will equal the hero dot something from up here. So it's passed by reference. And now I'm going to set the database to a branch of the field. So I'm just going to define something called heroes, and that will become a new branch in the tree if it doesn't exist yet. So under heroes, we're going to have a new branch of the tree called h.id. So that's the hero ID. And then the next thing in the parentheses is it's expecting an object. So it's got the brackets for an object. Well, I already have an object, so I'm just going to use the letter H, and so it'll write it into there. Okay, so it looks like I'm ready to go. I've got my object being written to the database, and it looks like I've created the object up here. Let's see if I've done any typos and see if this will work. So save the changes and refresh the page. It says here that Victor is logged in, so I'm ready to go. Let's go down and create a hero. I'm going to call him Harry. How about? And let's give him a wizard and give him a career and some strength and other options and click new hero. Oops, we've got an argument problem. It says uncaught error. First argument contains a function and whoa, what's going on? So it says here, I don't really understand the error. So I better go back and recheck my code. And let's see, I'm trying to create an object here. Is there any errors in here? And I see one. So profession, I've created a reference to an item on the page, but I forgot to get the .val. So little typos can make a big difference. So I want the value of what's been selected, not the actual item itself. So let's go and try it again. So refresh the page. Let's see, Victor's logged in. Let's try again, Harry, and he's a wizard, and let's make him a plowman and create him. No response here, so that means no errors. Let's go check it out. In our database, we've got ourselves an object called heroes, and underneath there is Harry. And see the number there? That's the current date. Looks like we've got all the rest of the properties signed up here. So the owner matches the Victor that's down below. So it looks like it's working. Now there's one more thing that I'd like to add to it. Is inside of the database, we have a list of heroes, and then we have a list of users. Now they're separate, they're completely separate. How do you make a join using a SQL database? Well, you keep two separate tables, and then you tell it to put them together later. In a NoSQL database, you duplicate data, so it seems to go completely against the rules that you've been taught. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a sub-branch under this user of Victor and add all the heroes that he's made. So that's going to be a lot of wasteful data, but that's the actual way it's done. So back into add hero to database, we're going to do two different writes. So I'm going to copy and paste this row, and instead of heroes, I'm going to say we're going to go into the users folder. Users, and then I'm going to say underneath the current user's ID, that's the UID is what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to create a branch called heroes, and then underneath there we're going to create the same exact set of data. So let's save it again, and I'm going to go back to my database. I'm going to delete Harry, so pretend we didn't create him. Now we're back to just one user. Let's go back and recreate Harry Potter. So let's go back into our account. It says Victor's logged in. This time, when we create Harry, we are going to set him up as a forger. And let's check to see what happened in the database. So we have two copies. So in the heroes list, we get Harry. And then underneath the Victor guy, we have another Harry going on here. Didn't come out quite what I wanted. Heroes Harry. I forgot a punctuation mark somewhere. So heroes needs another backslash. Let's try that. Save it again. Let's see, I gotta delete the data, and so that way we can recreate it in another test. Okay, I'm gonna refresh the page, I'm gonna create Harry again, and this time hopefully everything turns out right. Back to the database, we got Harry, we got a branch called Heroes underneath here, and then Harry underneath there. So that was the original design that I was chasing after. So you wonder why we have to duplicate data? It's because in the NoSQL queries, you're not really allowed to take one branch and merge it with another. So if we want to find out everything that Victor has created, we go and look in the subdirectory under Victor, and we look inside Heroes, and we'll see lots of different heroes that he's made. So we've only got one right now, but let's create one more just to demonstrate what it does. Who's going to be the next one? Let's call him Ron, and let's make him a little bit less strong and create him. And so you can see the pattern now. We've got two different heroes up here, and down here we got Harry and Ron. So the looks like our data input's working. That's pretty much it for this video. In the next videos we're going to do some editing and deleting and displaying these people on the screen.